A heavy price tag, heavier metal construction, and a seriously weird case.
You'd be forgiven for thinking that we're talking about the AirPods Max.
But you've seen the thumbnail, so let's have a real conversation. Does the Sennheiser Momentum 3 deserve your attention and money in 2021?
Goedendag, we are DHRME, dropping hot realistic music every day.
If there were one pair of Bluetooth headphones that could have served as the inspiration for the AirPods Max, it would have to be the Sennheiser Momentum 3. Before the AirPods Max, the Sennheiser Momentums were the heaviest headphones we tried. The generous amount of metal on both accounts for it. Both opt for physical buttons instead of Sony and Bose's hybrid touch controls with buttons. And both are expensive products compared to the Sony and the Bose. The two also have a distinctive look that can be polarizing, but we think are fairly stylish.
But the Momentum is a grandparent in technology years. They debuted in 2019 for what was also a very premium price tag for that time, $400. Today you can save a few bucks, so for the latest prices, check the links in the description down below. Using these links helps support our hard work so we can make more free content for you guys at no extra cost to you. So the build quality is good, but not as premium as the AirPods Max. The yokes are plastic, the headband metal with a leather trim. To begin with, you start up these headphones by simply twisting the yokes into position. We think it's a very nice touch, tactile, physical, and none of that confusion that comes from the AirPods Max. Is it on? Is it off? Is it in low power mode? Why is it still showing the battery percentage on my laptop after 4 days?
Some people just can't deal with Apple magic.
Moving on, when I first tried these on, I thought they were comfortable, due to the weight and the heat generated in the earpads. But now that I've used them for a while, I'm not quite so sure. So, as the resident comfort file, Kevin, how would you break it down for us?
Alright, get comfy guys, because comfort is something we're passionate about, and that has 5 areas for us. Starting off with the weight on the crown. It is on the higher side and does press down as they slowly creep down on your head as you wear them for longer periods of time. Then there's the ear cushion softness, which is excellent. They're very, very plush. And then we come to the heat generation on the ear cushions. We'd score them at a medium here. One bonus is that they smell great. And finally, there's the pressure of the ANC on the inner ear. This one was high for me, making me want to switch it off after a while, but the pressure relieving ANC mode does help. So overall, these are on the uncomfortable side of the spectrum for us, even behind the AirPods Max, which are really heavy on the ears, but are delightfully light on the crown, and don't generate as much of a pressure feeling in the ears.
The retro physical buttons are a great touch. After using them for a while, I can attest to their reliability. When using your fingers, they work perfectly.
What else would you use?
Gloves, man. Big, chonky gloves. Since the buttons are small and so close together, the volume, play, pause buttons always cause me some grief. The ANC button is still quite accessible though.
And while the ANC works okay, it's not top of the line for sure. In fact, it falls well below its less beautiful cousin, the PXE 552s, and way below what the Bose, Sony, and the ANC King, the AirPods Max, can drown out. You get some customizability on the ANC in the app. You can switch between max, anti-wind, and anti-pressure. And while the buttons are good, the way to use the ANC slider is also weird. There's a part button, part slider that you push up to turn off ANC, push down to turn on ANC, and then toggle down to switch between ANC and transparency mode. Needs some serious getting used to, and overall it's not very intuitive. I see no one but the most involved users using this. We're looking at you guys.
About that app, the Sennheiser Smart Control app is basic and functional. You can look at your connected devices, switch ANC modes, and change EQ in it. I think I might be the only person in the world who likes the dot waveform EQ thingy that lets you create a slope or a shelf with ease, but...
Do you use it?
No. I use the 3-band EQ in the app, which is okay, and to be frank...
But you're Rohan.
To be honest, I kinda needed it for these headphones. It has a very bassy sound out of the box, and if you like quantity of bass over quality, maybe you like it, but I used these settings to dial the sound to my liking. Even then, sometimes with sub bass, it's just too much. One thing I want to say is that the EQ I chose for one genre tends not to work with another one. So moving from smooth Bill Evans trio jazz to some new metal like Korn, I had to create another preset for it. For instrumental jazz, the timbres sound quite realistic. A contrabass, sounds like a contrabass if you've ever heard one in person. But I don't enjoy it as much for pop. I thought the bass was overpowering and needed to be toned down even more than my jazz preset. Frustrating. You can use the 3.5mm as well as the USB cable for audio though, which is really neat. Overall, I like the sound, but I'm not sure I would go as far to say that these are the best sounding ANC headphones. They're very good, mind you, but they fall short of being the best for all kinds of music, even though they're my go-to for vocals as far as ANC headphones go.
Talking about voices, phone calls. These headphones come with the favorite Fachmann controls, meaning you get the basics of accepting, rejecting, and hanging up calls, but also the ability to mute and unmute on the headphones itself by double pressing the volume down button. But let us curb your enthusiasm right there, because these would only be useful if you could actually make serious phone calls. The Momentum 3 scored quite poorly in microphone quality in all the conditions we've tested them in: quiet, noisy, and windy. Check out the microphone quality comparison test we did in the link up here and in the description box down below.
When it comes to extras, the Sennheiser Momentum 3 can do them all, on paper at least. You can connect to two devices simultaneously and switch on the fly. You can also switch devices in the app. You'll need it though, since these headphones are bad with names. Phone 1 and phone 2 is all it can say, even if the device you're connected to is not a phone at all. And while testing between two phones, it works well. We tested using Android and iPhone playing Tidal and YouTube. The switching works perfectly if you pause on the first device and then press play on the second. Not every time, but if it didn't work, I discovered that just pressing play and pause a couple of times on the second device when the audio starts skipping, that worked well.
But the whole experience is most janky on Windows. I wouldn't switch from Windows laptops to a phone on the fly. But if it doesn't work, just keep trying to play and pause till it eventually starts working. The same is the case with Smart Pause. It's an older implementation, so you have to keep the headphones away for 5 seconds for it to work reliably. So not quite Apple magicalness. So speaking to how future-proof and fixable these headphones are, Sennheiser say they try to avoid the use of composite materials and reduce the amount of plastic. They also say that they make their products last and do sell certain spare parts for many models. How this specifically translates to the Momentum 3 is still uncertain, but if any of you have had experience on this, do share it in the comments down below. This brings us to the section, Dubai or not Dubai. But before we give you our key takeaways, we'd like you to take away our appreciation for watching our content. We work hard to really test the products we review so that we can put together this real conversation. So do consider supporting us by taking a look at our merchandise, like what we're wearing, and tag us on Instagram. Or by considering using the links to buy these headphones, or even by hitting like, dropping a comment, telling us what you think DHRME stands for. And if you don't mind seeing us a bit more often, subscribe to the channel.
All right, after all that homework, you should buy the Sennheiser Momentum Wireless 3 if you like bass, lots of bass, and want good sounding ANC headphones that can be used not only wirelessly, but also with the supplied 3.5mm audio cable and the USB Type-C. If you feel like most headphones look too similar and want something with a little more character or timeless design and premium materials. If you feel like a klutz with touch controls and much prefer them pushy, clicky buttons. If, despite the retro design, you appreciate the modern features like USB Type-C charging, quick charge, NFC pairing, and twisting the ear cups to turn them on and off. If you use multiple devices and want maximum control to switch connections via the app.
You should not buy the Sennheiser Momentum 3 if you want great sounding headphones out of the box and don't want to do any tweaking. If you expect to be wearing them for long periods of time at a stretch and need them to be comfortable. If you need tier A level of noise cancelling. If you listen to pop music or prefer more refined bass. If phone calls are very important to you. If you use Windows. Seriously, who still uses Windows? You've been experiencing Max Momentum.
And we've been DHRME. Namaste.